Peyton, Grant, why are you carrying suitcases into my house? Mom said we could live here. We're moving in today. No, you can't just show up like this. This is unbelievable.
Your mom really did say it was okay, Harbor.
Where do you think you're going?
Peyton said the master's open.
The master is mine. Actually, I have good news. The guest house is ready.
The guest house?
The guest house is tiny. It has a hot tub.
Peyton, Grant, why are you carrying suitcases into my house? Mom said we could live here. We're moving in today. No way. You can't just show up like this. This is unbelievable. That was the moment my housewarming party turned into a home invasion. My sister and her husband walked through my front door with rolling suitcases like they owned the place. My mother had already texted me one line, "Don't make a scene." The next morning, I packed every single thing they'd unpacked, called a delivery driver, and sent it all back to my parents' house. I taped one note to the top suitcase, "Don't make a scene." Then I blocked every number in my family and went back to my life. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. My name is Harper. I'm 34, and I've spent the last 10 years climbing the ladder at a big tech company as a product manager. 2 months before that party, I closed on my first house. For bedrooms, a huge backyard, hardwood floors I still can't stop staring at. I picked every piece of furniture myself. I earned every square foot of it. My family has never made that easy. My younger sister Peyton, 31, has always been the favorite. College tuition, a paid apartment, a wedding that cost more than my first car. I started working at 16, fixed neighbors' computers for cash, and paid my own way through school with a scholarship and a surprise $28,000 from my parents that I later learned wasn't really theirs to give. I'll get to that. When my parents finally saw the house, they walked through it with tight, unreadable faces. Peyton disappeared upstairs and came back with a strange look. "You don't need all these rooms," she said. "You live alone?" "For now," I said. "Someday I might not." My mother patted Peyton's shoulder like she was comforting a kid who lost a game. "Don't worry, sweetie. Everything will work out fine." I didn't know yet what that meant. I was about to find out. 2 weeks later, I threw a real housewarming party. Coworkers, old college friends, neighbors, my parents, Peyton. By 7 p.m., my parents canceled. Mom's blood pressure, apparently. I wasn't surprised. They'd never shown up for anything of mine before. At 8 p.m., my front door opened without a knock. Peyton and her husband Grant walked in dragging suitcases through a party full of my guests. "What's with the luggage?" I asked. "Mom said we could live with you," Peyton said, smiling like she was announcing a vacation. "Where's the best bedroom? We'll need you to clear it out." I followed Grant upstairs in a daze while he carried their bags straight into my master bedroom. Peyton was already unzipping suitcases, pulling out clothes, talking about closet space. "You can't just move into my house without asking me," I said. "Mom already cleared it," she said. "This will be our room now." I had 30 guests downstairs. I smiled through gritted teeth and went back to hosting while my stomach turned to ice. By the time people started complimenting my decor, Peyton was already taking credit for it. "I picked those curtains," she told my coworker. "I chose that sofa," she told my neighbor. I nodded along, smiling, already planning what I'd do the second the house was empty. I called my mother that night. No answer. Just a text an hour later. "Just don't make a scene. Peyton deserves this house as much as you do. She'll stay until they save up for their own place." My mother thought my sister deserved the house I'd spent a decade earning. I didn't sleep. The next morning, Peyton and Grant sat in my kitchen drinking my coffee like landlords collecting rent. "We need keys," Peyton said. "Not even a good morning first. We're not standing on the doorstep waiting for you." "I'll be home early to let you in," I said. "I need copies made." She rolled her eyes but let it go. The second their car left the driveway, I called my boss for a personal day. Then I went upstairs and packed every piece of their clothing, every toothbrush, every trace of them back into those same suitcases. A delivery service picked them up an hour later. Address: my parents' house. I taped one note to the top bag. "I'm not letting parasites live in my house. Let them stay with you." My phone exploded within the hour. Calls, texts, my mother calling me cruel, my father calling me selfish, Peyton calling me every name she had. I answered exactly one message. You can stay with Mom and Dad until you find a place. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked every one of them. 2 peaceful weeks passed. Then an email arrived from a lawyer I'd never heard of, representing my parents. They were threatening to sue me. Either let Peyton move back in, or repay the $28,000 they'd given me for college. I called my father's sister, Paulette, the only relative who ever gave me a straight answer. That college money, I said. Where did it actually come from? A long pause. You don't know? That was your grandmother's inheritance, Harper. Not your parents' money. When she died, she left instructions to split her savings evenly between you and Peyton's education. Your father has the will. He sent me a copy years ago. I felt the floor tilt under me. My parents hadn't given me a gift. They'd handed me half of money that was already mine, and let me spend a decade grateful for it. My lawyer laughed when I showed him the email. They have no case, he said. That money was your inheritance. Educational gifts aren't loans. And nobody can sue you for refusing to house your sister. He sent a response that ended the lawsuit threat cold. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 2 months later, Paulette called again, her voice careful. Harper, I need to tell you what your parents are saying about you. What now? They're telling the whole family you promised Peyton the house, then kicked her out because you were obsessed with Grant and he rejected you. I actually laughed because the alternative was screaming. My own parents were inventing a story where I was the villain, stalking my sister's husband, just to explain away their own son-in-law stealing plot. It wasn't just entitlement anymore. It was character assassination. That night, I posted where the whole family could see it. Retract the lies about me and Grant, or I sue for slander. I've already talked to a lawyer. I meant it. A week later, Paulette called with the update. My mother had called a family dinner and admitted she'd made the entire story up out of revenge. Most of the family stopped speaking to my parents after that. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Here's the part nobody talks about after a story like this, the quiet after. I sat alone in my new backyard one night, the house finally silent, and I didn't cry and I didn't celebrate. I just sat there, staring at the fence line, feeling the specific kind of empty that comes from realizing your own parents chose your sister over you one more time, in the most expensive way possible. No shouting, no relief, just stillness. That was the moment I stopped waiting for an apology. Months passed. My work improved without the noise. I got promoted to senior product manager, landscaped the backyard, installed a hot tub with the rays. I started dating a software engineer named Tucker. When I told him the suitcase story, he just stared at me. Your sister tried to move in, with suitcases, and your parents backed her. That's the short version. At my birthday party that year, my cousin Brooke pulled me aside to tell me Peyton and Grant were struggling. Cheap apartment, eating ramen, no help from our parents anymore. Apparently Mom and Dad had finally decided Peyton needed to stand on her own 2 feet. The boundaries they refused to set with her, they only found after I set mine with all of them. A few weeks later, I ran into Grant at the grocery store. He apologized, said moving in was never his idea, that Peyton pushed it and our mother backed her. I asked why he never said anything. Because Peyton would have made my life hell. She was convinced you owed her that house since you'd always been the less favorite one. He shrugged. We're doing okay on our own now, actually. I believed him. I was glad and I meant it, and I still didn't let them back in. At the 1-year mark of owning the house, I threw a party just for me. 30 guests, no family drama, just people who actually wanted to be there. Tucker helped me plan it. I looked around at the laughter in my own living room and understood something I hadn't let myself say out loud yet. I'd lost blood family and gained a real one. 2 years after the suitcases first hit my floor, my life looked nothing like it used to. Tucker had proposed in the backyard, right next to the hot tub, and we were planning a small spring wedding. I'd been promoted again, director now, 12 people reporting to me, and the same boundaries that saved my house were making me a sharper leader at work. Paulette still called with updates once a month. My parents kept asking relatives to broker a reconciliation. My answer never changed. Tell them to try an apology instead of a demand. Then Grant called me out of nowhere. Harper, I know this is strange, he said, but Peyton and I are getting divorced. And during the separation, some things came out about your house. What things? She never planned to leave. She was going to stay long enough to establish residency, make it legally hard for you to remove her. Your mom knew the whole plan from the start. I should have stopped it. I was too much of a coward. I sat with that for a long time after we hung up. If I hadn't taken that personal day, if I hadn't packed those suitcases myself, the same morning, before they could plant themselves any deeper, my family hadn't tried to move in with me. They'd tried to take the house. A letter came from my mother not long after. 3 pages. The first was an apology for backing Peyton's plan, for the lies, for the lawsuit threat. The second asked me to forgive and forget so we could be a family again. Mentioned she and Dad were getting older. The third page, the real reason for the letter, mentioned they were struggling financially now that the rest of the family had turned on them, and maybe I could help out. I read it twice, then I fed it into my shredder. That night, sitting in the hot tub with Tucker under a clear sky, he asked if I ever regretted cutting them off. No, I said. My life is better without their chaos. I built this, all of it, and nobody is walking back into it with a suitcase again. I meant every word, and for the first time since I bought that house, I finally believed it, too.